The first time Rihanna said savage was through Starrah's lyrics. And look at what happened. Savage Fenty. You know, I think what's special about Starrah versus a lot of other writers or artists is she makes cultural moments. She writes the word savage and it becomes one of the biggest brands for the artist that she wrote it for.
How are you creating capital from creative? How does somebody go about doing that?
It's all about culture is the capital. Back in the day, they would say content is king, right?
Yeah.
But now it's context is king. So more than anything, I create context. Like I see a vision in people and how to unlock it and maximize them. And that's my biggest talent and my biggest gift. So I'm a people producer. So when I look at how I'm navigating or what we're doing next, it comes from a human perspective first. That's why, again, mental health is so important to me, because the mental health aspect is the currency that drives culture. These culture creators are humans. What is the foundation of them? Mind, body, spirit, right?
Okay.
So the mind is that unlimited bank. And if we don't advocate for it or look at how can we create a safe environment that enhances people, then we're all screwed. You know, when I take someone and they're like completely broke and unknown and make them into a multimillionaire, right? For me, it's not about the money that's like the reward. The idea of this person coming out of a situation that maybe for them, they thought they could never come out of, that's the reward. And that's the drive. That's what I'm always looking for and what, to me, like the capital is more than everything else. I don't think about with anything, even when I'm working on finance, I don't think about money first. I'm thinking about why. I'm thinking about the mission, and then the money will always come.
How do you mitigate the risk of that? Because there's a lot of risk associated with this.
Everybody looks at return on investment, ROI. But I talk about this when I started at Hypnosis. I came up with the slogan ROE, return on emotion. Because I'll be sitting in a room, a song is the only free thing that, like, you could be a room full of people and you play that song and it changes their emotion, it changes their mood, or reminds them of the first time they kissed their girl to the song or whatever it may be. So I think the ROE is the risk mitigating milestone. Because if you feel chills around a song and then you go bet on it, or if you get that feeling about an artist and you go bet on them, or you see something in this young director and you bet on them, even if it takes 8 years to get to the place where you have one project that you could just put out there, you already won. But then when it goes number one, right, that's when it's like, wow, the additional surface level rewards are coming. But the mission is never, let's go number one.
Right. All right, everybody, we're going to take a little break. Because if you're listening and thinking, fuck, I could really use some guidance right now, and you're serious about building your career in the music industry, I'm now offering private strategy sessions. These are fully personalized, just you and me tackling whatever you need in your career. With over 16 years of experience working with artists, managers, and brands, I can help you map out your next moves. Now, whether that's structuring your team, scaling your brand, navigating the industry, even figuring out what steps to take, whether to go to a distributor or to a record label and figuring out what are the best deal points, I can help you with your career with where you're at. You can now book a one-on-one with me through my Calendly, and you can find the link in the description. Now let's get back to the pod. But how are you... In order for you to take this 8-year partnership, you still have to be able to economically be okay.
Yeah.
So how are you handling that? Like, how does this get started? Maybe we talk about Starrah here. This is, you know, taking that risk, and what is the beginnings of this look like?
Oh my gosh, Starrah's story is crazy. You know, when I first signed Starrah, I remember going around and playing her for a bunch of people.
And when you say sign, you sign as
a manager, yeah.
Okay, not publishing or, okay.
No, she signed to Pulse. We signed her to Pulse. I'll tell you how we got there. Bringing her around the industry, there was a lot of things going on. You know, there were other writers who were really important. There was a lot of noise. It's a very competitive industry. And I just heard something in her. We had just worked for 5 years straight with Dr. Luke and Max Martin. And one thing that I learned there was wow, there's no one more important than Max, the songwriter. He's the oracle of all of this. 50 producers are not as valuable as one Max.
Why?
Because he's the plug to the producers to get the cuts. It's not a beat that gets cut, it's a song.
Yeah.
Songs win. Songs are hits. To have a song, you need more than the production. And I knew that the right songwriter would change everything. And I felt a shift coming where hip hop was going to cross over. Like I felt that. And whenever I have these feelings, it always comes true. I see things. It's not, somebody asked me when it's like, oh, what do you think? You think you're a psychic? And it's like almost in that sense, like because I'll meet somebody like a homeless person and be like, you're going to be a star. And then they become a star. And this has happened so many times outside of even my clients and the things that people know about. There's a lot of other, and I'll tell you some of those stories about literal superstars who I helped put together. But going back to Starrah, we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And there was this one session that I really wanted to set up. It was canceled 6 times. And finally she did that session. And that led to Be Real with Mustard, Kid Ink, and Dej Loaf, which was her first cut and her first like top 20 song. Once we had Be Real, we started to get a little bit of motion. And I was talking to a bunch of different publishers. But my favorite one was this incredible young executive, Ashley Calhoun, who at the time worked for Rondor Universal. And she came to me quietly. She said, Nick, listen, I'm going to be moving companies and things are changing over here at Universal, but I really still want Starrah. Can you wait to not do any other deal? Let me transition to wherever I'm going to go. I can't tell you where I'm going to go yet, but wherever I go, I'm going to fight for you guys. I'm going to make sure the deal happens. And in my mind, I calculated 2 years of living expenses and then some for Starrah. If I could just get her that, then I could get her out of her job. At the time, she was working at public storage full time. And I was like, I just got to get her out of that public storage job. She's too talented to be working at public storage.
That's so crazy. That was basically the timeline I had for Jessie as well. If I can get a publishing deal that gets her 2 years.
That 2 years is the time.
That's what I need, yeah.
You always need 2 years at least.
Yeah.
You know, with a genius, brilliant superstar, you need 2 years.
Right.
Michael Jackson, you're going to need 2 years.
Yeah.
You know? So it was about that 2 years. And then Ashley went into Pulse.
Yeah.
Did what she said. We signed Starrah to Pulse. And we started cooking and working and getting different little cuts. And then Rihanna came. She was doing these camps for the Anti-album.
I remember that in Malibu.
Everybody was there.
Everybody.
And, you know,
everybody.
I had built a relationship with Omar Grant, who's incredible A&R, because he'll come and listen to the bum off the street. He'll listen to every song of anybody who he meets. And he's a very rare A&R like that.
Yeah.
And he would always listen to everything we had. He was a supporter of Starrah. He believed in her. So he said, Nick, you can come to the camps. I said, I need a day with Starrah and Mustard, please. He's like, I got you. Did the first day. Her and some other producers did the second day. We were with Rest in Peace Sophie, who came. I remember Rihanna came into the room. It was the first time I met her. She was in a big fur thing and, you know, had so much swag and aura about her. And she was smoking a big blunt. And she's like, you want a hit? And I was like, I don't really smoke usually, but I was like, I can't say no to Rihanna. I was like, yeah, you know, It was Rihanna. You can't say no to her. You know, she was that down to earth and cool.
Yeah.
And the last day of the sessions came. She still wasn't with Mustard. And I remember calling Omar. I said, oh, I got to get that Mustard session. Little did I know, Omar on his side was convincing Mustard to come out because even someone at his level, everybody looked at it as, man, this is like a lottery.
Yeah.
We're going to make 1 million songs. Or, you know, oh, put me in with the biggest person. Starrah still wasn't the biggest then. Mustard came. Starrah wrote Needed Me in about 30 minutes. And from the moment that she started recording, you just got chills. This thing was crazy. And I remember, you know, a month or something later, getting the call. Yo, Nick, let's get the paperwork done. This is it. This is going. And it became a huge smash. But they released it.
What does that feel like when you're getting that call?
It was insane. I mean, we love Rihanna. Everybody does.
Yeah.
And everybody says it's impossible. Everybody's so discouraged. Everybody's all so negative. There are people who've been working on it for 15 years. They never got one cut. So for us, it was surreal. I was so excited. And it was all part of the plan. It's like, well, first we got to get this, then we get the Rihanna, and then we can get to Maroon 5. And there was like a whole vision around it. But the song came out. It was the only song I ever saw that came out with another single at the same time. They put out Love on the Brain at the same time.
That's right.
And
That's right.
it
Wow.
was disastrous
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
You never want to do that.
No.
You don't drop 2 singles. Something was off.
And why is that?
Not everybody believed in the record. Rihanna did, Omar did, but I think there were, a lot of big forces that believed, what is this song? And it ended up being Rihanna's longest charting single of all time on the R&B charts. And the longest running single in the R&B charts of all time as well. So many different data points around that song and the achievement it did on the charts. But fast forward 5 years later, we're in London with Ree. And she looks at us and she's like, you guys don't know the Needed Me story? I said, what, the Needed Me story? She's like, oh my gosh, she comes up right here. She's like on the floor on the couch. She's like, I get these iPods with all the demos on them and it had 100 songs on it. And they gave me the iPod and I'm listening to song after song after song after song. It's like to the point where I fell asleep. But the last song on my iPod was Needed Me and the iPod was on repeat.
Oh.
She said, I woke up the next day singing, didn't they tell you that I was a savage? She's like, what's that stuck in my head? Needed Me. She went back to the iPod song number 99. This is my song. And she loved that song. And when she told me that story, I got chills.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is like a spiritual intervention. Like,
Right.
you can't make this shit up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
What is it about Starrah that makes her so special?
Honestly, I think it's something innately within her and within some of these savant level geniuses. Like, what is it about Picasso that makes him Picasso, or, Da Vinci that makes him Da Vinci, or Mozart or Michael Jackson? It's not a comparison to them, but I believe they all fit in the same bucket. All genius level talent. She's so prolific. She's so humble. She's so hardworking. Her attitude is incredible. When she signed her publishing deal, this is an example of how much integrity she has. She was like, okay, well, I have to give my 7-day notice to my other job. She just got a huge check. She didn't need to keep going to the other. She could have thrown her apron, whatever.
Yeah.
No, she honored her word. She would write, I've seen her write 20 songs in 6 hours, full songs, or less, maybe 4 hours. Like, her output and the quality of all of them is unmatched and unprecedented. So I think it's a mixture of attitude, talent, work ethic, and she's just such a spiritual person and such an incredibly inspirational person that she empathizes with the artist and almost becomes like a method writer where she's truly writing from Rihanna's perspective.
Right.
She's truly writing from the artist's perspective.
I had Tyler on the podcast. He told me similar story in those sessions, Malibu,
Yep.
Party, Rihanna, and he watched, as you watched, the session, and he watched Party Next Door literally embody Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing where I think she had some vodka or something, and then she offered Party some vodka, and he never really drinks. And I hope I'm not butchering the story, but he's like, yeah, he had a drink, but he was just getting in the mode, right? Those sessions were special. People talk about those sessions a lot. I remember being there as well too with Jesse, Deputy. I walked into a studio, SZA before SZA, she's cutting the record, Punch is sitting there in a room. Like everybody was
there.
Yeah.
You were there. I mean,
I was, yeah.
The first time Rihanna said savage was through Starrah's lyrics. And look at what happened. Savage Fenty. I think what's special about Starrah versus a lot of other writers or artists is she makes cultural moments. She writes the word savage and it becomes one of the biggest brands for the artist that she wrote it for.
Is that intentional?
It's an aura thing. It's an energy thing. I think that for her, she's so elevated as like an alpha zen person, so detached from the outcome that those outcomes come to her naturally.
It's fire.
And when I look at, you know, she broke so many artists, like their first number ones. Halsey's first number one of her career was written by Starrah. Camila Cabello's first number one of her career was written by Starrah.
That's right.
You know, the longest running number one hit for Maroon 5 in their entire career was written by Starrah. And she continues to do these things and has continued to do that despite the fact that the song, not everybody sees the vision at the beginning or not, but if the one artist believes in it, it takes that one moment of Rihanna saying, I want this, it changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this business, when a writer gets a cut like that, automatically from an artist of that level, which is very rare, that writer now has a lot more opportunity. But it doesn't mean that it's immediately granted. They got to show up. And they got to show up because not every artist, just because you do something incredible with one artist, doesn't mean that that other artist is going to also take that record.
Well, Starrah also has a different standard she holds herself to. I remember when we had like 80 cuts in hip hop and we just did Pick Up the Phone, Travis Scott and Young Thug, brought them together for the first time, working with everyone, Drake, this, that, whatever.
Yeah, the door opens up for sure.
The phone blowing up every 5 minutes from everybody in hip hop, and Starrah called me, she said, I don't want to do any more hip hop right now. Why? Just because I'm black, they want me to write hip hop? I could write every genre. And I said, damn, you know what? Okay, bet, leave it with me. That's when I started harassing Calvin Harris's manager, Mark. And I'm like, Mark, just give us a chance to write one song for Cal.
Right.
I knew that if I started with Calvin, it would be a through line to the rest of the pop world. And finally, he sent me this song with
Normani.
No, Ellie Goulding.
Oh.
And Starrah loves Ellie. So I sent her this. She wrote a whole verse to it. The next day, Calvin calls. He's like, come to the studio. She wrote 90% of Future Funk Bounce, the album, within a matter of 3 or 4 days. I mean, if you look at the credits on that album,
crazy.
90% written by Starrah. And
10% written by Jesse.
Feels, and like she created these iconic moments with where Katy Perry and Pharrell is on a record with Big Sean, just unexpected moments, and crafted that. And I think, you know, that's the magic. Then she went on to do so many other hits, but like even when we got the call for Havana, Camila Cabello, Camila had not blown yet. She obviously was in a big group, but as a solo artist had 0 hits.
Didn't have her moment, yeah.
And I was like, hey, Starrah, like we got this new cut coming with Camila, Havana. She was like, man, she had written over 150 songs just within that like 2-month span since she wrote Havana. She didn't even remember the song. She was like, oh shoot, can you play it for me? What does it sound like? I showed her and she's like, oh yeah. And you know, all of these songs we have the demos for, and the demos are all Starrah. The way she makes songs is kind of like when a cover artist is covering a song. I always say artists cover Starrah songs. If you hear the demos or look up the leaked demos, it's literally like verbatim, so close.
Right.
And you know, it was a roller coaster.
That's the mark of a great songwriter, though, is because the artist is now mimicking Starrah. But Starrah is also, as you mentioned, trying to find the cadence that will work for the artist. If I'm not mistaken, right?
I think it's about the soul. She's capturing that soul of the artist, you know, and everything else comes with it.